Morning, dear students. This is scheduled. This is revised schedule for MMPC 7, and we thank Dr. Anjana ma'am for accepting our invitation. Thank you very much, madam. I request all the students to please take note of the proceedings, and now ma'am will take this. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So today I will take continuous 2 hours. So these will be the last 2 hours, and with this we'll be finishing off our communication. So let me start presenting. Um,
Madam, little louder.
yeah, okay, fine. Sir.
Yes, ma'am. Visible. It's visible.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So in the previous class we have done with the meetings. Uh, we started with the oral presentation types. We have done with the meeting. Today we will do the presentations. So presentation is one of the most effective tool of delivering the messages orally, and this is a very important tool that is done in the offices, and especially in today's time, it has become a very common way of delivering the oral messages in the office. So this kind of oral presentations can be given, when there is some information to be delivered, or when some decision has to be made based upon this presentation given, or maybe some proposal has to be presented to the other parties, or maybe when you have to convey the information on what is the performance of your particular department. So there are different types of information that can be delivered through oral presentations. So what actually is this oral presentation? The oral presentation is a form of formal, structured, and systematic presentation of a message to the audience. So here, a sort of information is delivered to the audience, and this information is arranged and is organized properly so that the message is delivered in most effective way. So for an oral presentation, there has to be a purpose, and there has to be an audience for whom this presentation is given. And to achieve that purpose, the based upon that purpose and based upon that objective, the the information is gathered, it is collected, and it is organized properly, formally, it is structured properly in a systematic way, and then it is presented to the audience. So this audience can be, the employees of the organization. This audience can be some other client or some other organization for whom the presentation is made, or this presentation can be the management. Say suppose a presentation is done on a budget, so this can be to the management. So anybody can be the audience who actually needs this information, and the decision is taken on the basis of this information. So, this oral presentation is a form of communication. It is a participative two way communication process characterized by formal and structured presentation of a message using visual aids. So, here you have the participants, and it is a two-way communication. So a presentation is most effective if it is a two-way communication, in the sense when a presenter is giving a presentation, he has the information to be delivered, so it is he who is going to speak more, but at the same time the audience for whom this presentation is given, they can also participate, in the sense if they have something to contribute, they can contribute, or if they have some suggestions to be given, they can give, or if they have some queries, those queries can be cleared by the presenter. So that is the reason we are saying that it is a two-way communication. But mostly in this, the information exists along with the presenter of this oral presentation. So here the presentation is done using the visual aids. So most of the presentation is done using the visual aids. For instance, it can be the slides, or it can be some charts, or you have this through these PPT slides, the PowerPoint presentations, like how we are doing it now. So there are various visual aids which can be used to make your presentation more effective. So there can be charts, there can be graphs, which you can use it to make your presentations more effective. So if the presentation is only on the basis of text, then it might be monotonous and boring. And some of the information is delivered more effectively if it is given through the charts or the graphs. For example, if the presentation is, for example, the sales performance of the salespeople for the past 5 years, or the sales revenues. So these figures can be expressed effectively if it is conveyed through the charts and the graphs. Um, then you have um, one second, this scrolling is difficult here. Um, is the slide visible? I'm scrolling the slides. Is the second slide visible to you? Anyone, can you please can you please respond if the slide visible?
Yes, ma'am.
The types of um, um, presentation, is this slide visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the feedback. So here, let us see the different types of presentation. So presentations can be uh, prepared or extemporaneous. Extemporaneous presentation is one where the presentation is prepared, and then it is, the presentation is prepared and then it is presented. So here, when they're giving the presentation, they will not see any book or any notes. So they will give, without going through any notes or any without any materials in the hand. But at the same time, they are prepared. So that means they have already gathered the information before, and they have prepared for this presentation, and then they give the presentation without the help of any materials or any notes in their hand. So that means they are going to rehearse before giving the presentations. So this kind of presentation is very effective, because uh, you know what presentation you have to give. You are already prepared, so you are not nervous while giving the presentation, because you know what on what topic you have to give the presentation, and you are prepared with those topics. At the same time, because you have prepared for this presentation, so it is easier to maintain the eye contact with your audience. You are able to look at them and talk to them, so that if you find that the audience are not showing any interest, or if you feel that they are not able to understand, you can change the way of presentation, because they're already prepared. Just the way of presentation can be prepared to gain the attention of the audience. Then the second one is manuscript, reading or the manuscript. In reading or the manuscript, you have a manuscript in the hand, so you have the information in your hand on which you are going to give the presentation. So in this kind of presentation, even if the reader is not, even if the presenter is not prepared, but if he has the points in his hand, if he has the manuscript ready in his hand, he knows that he can just go through it, and he can read, and um, he can give the presentation. So this presentation, um, the presenter is not going wrong, because there is no chance of giving a wrong presentation or getting nervous, because he has entire information in his hand. But the problem with this kind of presentation is that the reader might not have continuous eye contact with the audience, because he has to read from the script, and at the same time the readers might find it very boring, because when somebody is reading and if you have to hear it, it might not be that attention gathering, and it might sound boring. So this kind of presentation can be used, when the presenter has some information to be given for which there is no uh, uh, you know no evaluation is done, or for which there is something that just has to be informed to the reader. For instance, the policies of the organization. So if there are the policies of the organizations, or there are changes in the policies of the organizations that have to be informed to the that has to be informed to the audience, then the manuscript is the best one, because there should not be any wrong information to be conveyed to the employees. So for that kind of presentation, manuscript is the best type of presentation. Then you have the memorization. So in memorization presentation, the the presenter will memorize everything. Okay, we will memorize everything and will, as it is, will give the presentation. So if you see this memorization, this is a type of prepared or the extemporaneous, right? Because here what happens, here also the person has prepared, right? He has prepared and then he is giving the presentation. In memorization, he will try to memorize as it is everything, but in prepared, not necessarily that he has to memorize each and every word of the presentation. He can change the form of the presentation. But in memorization, usually the way he memorizes whatever sentences, word he has memorized, he would like to give the presentation in the same manner. So this memorization can be a problem in case if the presenter forgets any word or the sentence, because in that case the person gets nervous and that might impact the entire presentation. Only thing is in um, memorization is that some people have very good memory power, so but those people can memorize it and then they find it easier to give the presentation, and they are able to have the eye contact with the audience. Then you have the impromptu presentation is one where the presenter is not told about the topic before, and on the spot or spontaneously he is told to give a presentation. So this kind of presentation usually takes place during the informal gathering. For instance, when there is a marriage or when there is a social gathering, and you ask somebody to share their experiences. So then they try to speak, how it is and what it is. And it might also happen in the organization if somebody is asked, to uh, uh, you know, once the presentation is done and somebody is asked to give or maybe there is a meeting, and one of the person is picked up and he is asked to summarize, whatever has happened in the meeting to all the audience. So that he was not prepared and he is just picked up randomly, and now he has to, summarize the whatever discussions have happened in the meeting. So that is also impromptu, where he has to recollect whatever has happened in the meeting, and he is supposed to give a presentation on that. So in impromptu, it's like on the spot you are told to give a presentation on certain issues, certain topics. So mostly it happens in the informal gathering. Then how to make a good oral presentation. So how do we start with an oral presentation? If you want to make an oral presentation, an effective oral presentation, how do we start from the beginning? So the first one is conquering the stage fright. So most of us, have a stage fear of giving a presentation in front of the audience. So generally, when we are talking with friends or when we are ourselves and we try to rehearse, we rehearse well, but when it comes to going to the audience, facing the audience and giving the presentation to them, we get very nervous, we get anxious, and we are not able to give the presentation properly. So there is a sort of the mental block, and we start getting nervous. And sometimes we get completely blank and we do not know what we are supposed to speak. So our body language also changes, and the non-verbally, we try to send the cues that we are very nervous. So when you see somebody, in the public speaking and the person is very nervous and not able to speak properly, you can look at the person's body language, his facial expressions, and you can know whether the person is having a stage fear. Also, some people voice will start trembling. It will start shivering when they are talking, when they are nervous. So these kind of fear is easily expressive, and the audience is able to know that the speaker is anxious or is tense. So what happens is one has to understand that one has to accept that yes, I have a stage fear. So if I have to conquer my stage fear, the first thing is that I have to accept that yes, I have a stage fear, and then I have to practice on conquering the stage fear. And how do I do that? First of all, I have to think positively that yes, I can, you know, conquer this stage fear and I will overcome it. Then next is you will start thinking about the various ways how you can conquer this stage fear. So how can you conquer? You should start practicing. You should start practicing. So what you should do is you should rehearse when you stand in front of the mirror and then rehearse. Then you gather few friends with whom you are comfortable and try to give the presentation to them and try to take a feedback from them that how you are doing it. Then visit small places where you don't give a big presentation but you speak few lines to them, and you start gaining confidence slowly. So it is not possible to gain the confidence at once. It takes time. So slowly in small gatherings, you start going and speaking at least few lines. Even though if you are scared, you should still go there and give a presentation. It's fine even if you fail. If you fail in few presentations, you will learn from them. And as the number of presentation increases, a time comes when you are confident and you are able to give the presentation properly. So you start giving small presentations in small gatherings, which are not the important gatherings. But at the same time, if you give presentations there, even if you fail, you're not going to lose anything. But you will definitely gain confidence in giving the presentation after presentation. So that will help you to develop your confidence. Then knowing the audience. So if you have to give a presentation, first of all you should know who is the audience. For whom are you giving the presentation? Are your audience highly knowledgeable audience? Is your audience not so knowledgeable about the topic for which you are going to give the presentation? Are they having good experience in that field? What is the age group of that audience? uh, what will which kind of information will this information will be of what help to your audience? In what way the audience is going to use this information? So you try to gain the information about your audience. So if you know the information about your audience, you will prepare your presentation accordingly. So if you know that this presentation is to deliver a proposal to the external parties to get a project from them, then you should be extremely careful in making your presentation very formal and informative, and you should be prepared with a backup and supportive documents, because they will be asking you questions for which you should be ready to provide supportive documents, to justify whatever point you are going to give in the presentation. And if it's a normal presentation where you are just providing the information to your audience, then accordingly you will prepare your presentation. If you think that the age of your audience is very less, and they are like people whose attention grabbing will be very difficult, so your audience is different, your presentation will change. To make your presentation very attractive, you will use some anecdotes or some stories, some phrases which will entertain your audience and keep them engrossed into your presentation. Then what will be the content of your presentation? So the content of your presentation depends upon what the purpose of your presentation is and who is the audience for the presentation. So your presentation should be, if it, as I said, if it is a proposal, it has to be very formal and professional. But then it should not include certain topics which the other person will not be able to understand. You should try avoiding the using of jargons or using certain words. You think that you will feel great that I'm using such kind of difficult words. But if these words are only able to uh, you know bring misunderstanding and create confusion in the minds of the audience, then it is of no use. So your presentation should um, not be too small, not to provide enough information. At the same time, if it is too long and if it goes beyond your time that is set, then also it is not said to be professional. And beyond a certain time, the audience might lose interest in listening to that presentation. So one has to, maintain the time decorum and go as per the time schedule given to the presentation. And to make your presentation more attractive and more, effective, one should use the visual aids and should, be ready with certain examples to make it more impactful, and be ready with the supportive documents to justify whatever information you are going to provide. Then how should be the structure of your presentation? What all the presentation should include? So the presentation should have three parts: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. The introduction is the starting, wherein the presenter is going to introduce himself. He is going to introduce the topic. He will say, what the topic is, and he'll just give a gist of or a summary of whatever he is going to include in his presentation. And he will talk about himself. He will tell about himself so that others get comfortable and he also is at ease. Then he will move on to the body of the presentation, which is the actual part of the presentation, which includes all the information in detail which is required by the audience. And to make the presentation, as I said, to make your presentation effective, one might use the visual aids, the anecdotes, the examples to inculcate or to invite the interest in the audience. Then you have the conclusion. Conclusion is the ending part where the speaker will now try to summarize. Okay, see, in the introduction, he is only giving the gist, what all will be included in your presentation. But in the conclusion, you are going to give the summary of whatever so far you have discussed in the body of the presentation. So you will give a summary of whatever you have given the information over here. And uh, you have to highlight the important points in the conclusion so that if anybody has missed it, so that also has to highlight it. So you will start with what was the purpose of the presentation and what is the summary of your presentation, and then you give a conclusion in the end that how this information can be used by them and how they can use it, um, you know um, how this can be beneficial to them and how they can use this information for decision making. So your conclusion should be done in such a way so that it leaves a positive impact on the audience. And it is after the conclusion that you give an opportunity to the audience to ask any questions or any queries if they have. Some people can even allow the queries in the body of the presentation or when the presentation is being taken place. Okay, maybe the queries are as such and the presentation is as such, which is includes the figures and data. So one might not remember at the end. So if the queries are as such, which can be asked only at that time, and if the speaker is okay with that, so he can allow the audience to ask the query even while giving the presentation. Some of the presenters tell beforehand only that once he completes his presentations, then he will take up the queries. So for such kind of presenters, they expect the queries to be asked at the end. So even at the end, the queries can be asked. Okay, next one is delivery of the presentation. So when we are giving the presentation, right, when all this is happening, this is how the presentation has to be given. These three includes the part of the presentation, but how the presentation has to be given. So while giving the presentation, one has to understand and make notice of the quality of the voice. So while giving the presentation, one has to understand that if you give a presentation in a very monotonous voice and a monotonous volume, it might sound very, very boring to the audience. They might think that you are just reading your presentation and it might not be effective. Then they will think better we only read from the presentation. And they might not show interest also if you have a monotonous voice. So one has to keep changing the tone according to the the importance of the specific sentence or the word in the information that you are giving. So when you are providing an information and you are giving, say, suppose you have to give the figure, the total sales value for that particular year. So you have to stress upon that figure, and maybe you can repeat that figure twice and thrice. So the tone, the pitch of the voice can change depending upon the size of the audience. Because if the audience is very few in number, you cannot shout, right? Because then it will look very noisy. But at the same time, if the audience is very huge in number, then you need to increase the volume of your voice, because then it has to be audible to the entire audience. Of course, if the audience is big in number, usually, in the presentation there will be the mic system or the speaker system. So that should not be a problem, because usually volume should not be a problem, because generally we tend to arrange all these equipments before the presentation has to start. Then use microphone or the collar mic. So microphone or the collar mic has to be used. If you use the collar mic or the collar mic, it is easier for the presenter to move around the audience. If you are using a podium or a stand-up mic, that becomes difficult, because you have to stick to the mic. So some of them might feel comfortable, some of the speakers might feel comfortable, but some of them might not feel comfortable standing in one place. In fact, the presentation is more effective if the presenter is moving around, moving around the presentation hall, and is able to, you know, be friendly and be closer to the audience. This makes, the audience very interactive. In fact, so the caller phone is always the best option. Then give pause to allow the listener to understand. So when a speaker is giving a presentation, one should not keep on giving the presentation as if you are reading a book. There has to be some pause in between, so that the speaker is also at the ease of speaking, and the speaker can also take a breath. At the same time, the audience is also getting a time to understand and to listen to what is presented by the presenter. Then pronounce the difficult words properly and correctly. So sometimes there are some words which is difficult to pronounce. So when you are pronouncing such words, make sure you are pronouncing it correctly and at the same time slowly, so that because when you know that it is difficult to pronounce, so make sure that you pronounce them slowly, and if required, pronounce it again, so that if it is difficult to pronounce, it might be even difficult to understand by the listener as well. So that is the reason it is better to announce such words twice or thrice, so that any listener or any audience who has not understood, they can understood if it is pronounced twice or thrice, second time or third time. Then maintain or build up a rapport with the audience. So when you go for the presentation, if you are able to build up a rapport with the audience, then it becomes easier for the presenter to give a presentation. So to build up a rapport with the audience, to build up a rapport with the audience. So, when you go to the audience, look into the eyes of the audience, and, greet them, talk about yourself, in general, talk about, just, have a small informal talk with them. So this will put both the speaker and the audience, um, at ease. So uh, when you involve the audience also becomes comfortable, and they are also put at ease. At the same time, when they start talking, even the speaker will be at ease, because the rapport will be built up. Okay, so this is always required before the presentation starts, which will put the presentation, which will make the presentation a very comfortable and a convenient presentation. Then pay attention to the body language. So when you're giving the presentation, make sure that you are taking care of your body language. Don't stand in a manner which is very intimidating to the audience, and which is very which looks very offensive. And make sure that you are using the body parts properly, in the sense hands, legs. So make sure that you are not always folding your hands, and you are not hitting your knuckles and trying to show the audience that you are very nervous. Make sure that you are standing comfortably, and sometimes you are using your hands for giving explanation, that shows a confidence, but avoid too much of movement of your hands. Then people will get distracted, and they will, look only to the hand movements of yours. And then, uh, stand straight. Don't try to lean on something. If you stand straight, that even shows your confidence. And smile. Keep smile. So if you keep smiling, that shows the confidence. And when you move, even in your movements, there should be confidence. And always dressing formal. So when you go for any, uh, presentations, you expect that the presenter who is coming, you expect him to be, look very professional. So if you see some presenter who is not even tucked his shirt properly, who is wearing some chappals and coming, so your half of the impression goes down. You feel, oh, what is he going to give a presentation? Look at him, he is not even dressed properly, because that looks very, very informal. So one has to be, very, very formal. So we say that first impression is the best impression. So give a best impression to your audience by dressing up very well. Then effective use of visual aids. So we have seen that using of visual aids will make your presentation very effective. As I said, you can use pictures, symbols, objectives, graphs, bar charts. Then you can give your presentations to PowerPoint presentations, or you can use OHP, overhead projectors. And when you're giving a presentation, make sure that your presentation has, good font size. It is more attractive. There are, though it is colorful, but it should not be too colorful. If it is too colorful, it looks very, very informal. And make sure that you know how to operate the equipment before, because suppose you are giving presentation, if your PPT is not ready, you have not saved it on your desktop, and then suddenly you are searching of it in front of all the audience, it looks very awkward. And then it's like, you should know how to operate, how to move to the next slide. You should not ask the help of, if you're not, or if you're not able to do it, make sure that some help is there already beforehand, and you have explained them beforehand. It should not be confusion while you are giving the presentation. Then remember the four P's. So, what are these four P's? Planning, practice, perform, and preparation. So, this is nothing but, if you see, it is like, the gist of whatever we have done so far. So, for instance, planning. So, what is this planning? What do you mean by planning of a presentation? That means you should be prepared beforehand before you go for the presentation. And how do you do that? First of all, you should know what is the purpose of your presentation. What is the goal? Why are you giving the presentation? What kind of presentation? Who is your audience? And what kind of information are they expecting from you? And in what way that information be going to be helpful for the audience. Okay, analyze what is the occasion of the presentation. Is it, the some celebration, or is it, giving a proposal, I said, to get the business. So what kind of occasion is that? Is it a business meeting? And then, depending upon all these things, depending upon the purpose, decide what is going to be the title of your presentation, because the title of the presentation should be something very attractive, where the the audience should feel, they should get pulled towards this presentation. Oh, this title sounds very interesting. So what is going to be there in that presentation, they should get dragged to this presentation. Then the preparation, so how will be the preparation done? This we have this seen, the three parts of the presentation, like you have the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And then, as I said, practice. So if you practice the presentation, you will do better in front of the audience, and you will have confidence, and you will be prepared to face the queries of the audience. And perform. So while performing, as we have seen in that other one, while delivering, how do we deliver the presentation? That will come under this performance of the presentation. So this is about the oral presentation. Then let us move on to the business correspondence. Is the business correspondence slide visible to you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Okay. So now we move on to the business correspondence. So, business correspondence is basically, the uh, correspondence that takes place with respect to the business. So, when there is an exchange of information um, with the relation to the business, then we call it as a business correspondence. And business correspondence mostly is in the written format. So, most of the business correspondence is in the written format. So, in what way the business correspondence takes place through the written format? So, it takes place through different means, like you have letters, emails, you have uh, you know the report writing. So all these are the forms of the business correspondence. So through these forms, through these means, there is an exchange of information that takes place between the organizations, or it can be between the organizations and the external parties. So when the correspondence is taking place, if you can remember, I have explained you about the internal communication and the external communication. So internal communication is a communication that takes place inside the organization. That means it can be from the employees to the management, it can be from one department to the other department, it can be from one branch to the other branch, it can be from one office to the other office of the same organization. So it is internal to the organization. And when the correspondence or the communication takes place between the organization and the external parties, then it is called as an external communication. So this written communication or written or the business correspondence can be usually it is between the organization and the external parties. So this can take place between organizations, within the organizations, or between the customers and the organization. So when we say between the organizations, that means between two organizations. So that is what I'm telling about the external parties, right? External parties can be the competitors, the buyers, the suppliers, the customers, the banks, the financial institutions, government agencies. So that is what this is talking about within organizations. That means you can have suppliers, right? They are also the organizations. Then with banks, with financial institutions, with government agencies, all these are the organizations. So when it takes place between the organizations, it is with the external parties. Even the customer is an external parties, right? And it can also take place within the organization. That is I was talking about, between the employees and the management, between the departments and between the various departments within the organizations, between various branch offices in the organizations. So any sort of correspondence that takes place between in such manner is called as business correspondence, and it is usually the written format. So in business correspondence, we are only going to study about the written format. So, meaning of the business correspondence. So, it is, as we have seen, it is the communication through exchange of not necessarily letters, as I told you, it can be any written format. So, communication that takes place through the written format is known as the business correspondence. See here. So, this business correspondence can be either business letters, it can be business memos, it can be business faxes, or it can be business emails. Even the reports will come here, but the reports will come under long business communication. See, in your syllabus you have short business communication, long business communication. So short business communication is letters, memos, faxes, and emails. The report that I was talking about, you will have both short communication also in report, and you will have long communication also in the reports. So that we will see when we come to the report writing. So what is a business letter? So it is a letter written in the formal language used when writing from one business organization to the other, or for correspondence between such organizations and their customers, clients, and other external parties. So the same thing, when what I said about the business correspondence, it is the same thing, but here the correspondence is done through the business letter. So when there is an exchange of information taking place through business letter, either within the organization or between the organizations and the external parties, then we call it as a business letter. So this business letter is a form of written communication, and that we have seen in the previous class, that it is used to have a permanent record, and they are very formal, right? And you can use it for making inquiries or for credit request or for requesting claims or adjustments. There are different types of letters that can be used. So we will see what different types of letters are, and we will see even the parts of the letter writing. So what is this business memorandum? So business memorandum is usually a document which is used for the internal communication. So this is used within the organization for the internal communications. Usually it is used to deliver the common information to a group or a small or a large group. And this is a one-way communication usually. So here, for instance, if it is regarding the change in the policy or a new policy, so that has to be addressed to all the employees, then they will make use of this memorandum. Then you have business faxes. Of course, now the faxes are not used as facsimile, but otherwise, the faxes were used to deliver the documents electronically from one place to the other place through the fax machine and through the telephone number, which is now not no more in use, because now digitally we are able to transfer our documents very easily, and the technology is become so updated that the facsimile is now has gone outdated. Then business email. So business email is considered as reigning the queen of the business correspondence, right? We know that we use email so frequently, so often in the business correspondence, that this has become like a queen in the business correspondence. It is even more important than the business letters nowadays, though it does not substitute them. So what does that mean? Though we are using the business email, we are using email to correspond to for the correspondence, for business correspondence, because it is very very easy and it is very very less time taking. So this has also become very formal now, but at the same time, this we did not substitute this with the business letter. Even though we send the mail and we give the attachment, but still we make sure that that business letter for which you scanned and you have sent as an attachment, still those business letter, the hard copy of those letters also will be sent. The physical copy is still required even though we are using it. So what people do is they send the mails, and then once the mail is sent, because this is very quick and fast, so that the action can be taken. So once the business letter is sent through mails, the implementation parts or the execution starts at the same time. This is sent, which might take few days to reach, maybe 1 day or 2 day, and the execution part is does not get delayed because it is already started once the email is received. So this saves a lot of time. At the same time, we can have a lot of attachments, not only the documents but also the videos, the ppts. A lot of attachments can be sent, and the same letter can be delivered to multiple people at a time. Just with a click away, you can send the mail to you to the multiple recipients. So this is the importance. We know that it is helping. It helps us to maintain good relations with external parties. It is a very quick and an easier mode to communicate. It maintains the goodwill. It serves as an evidence, and it helps us to expand our business and do the diversification. So all the importance, we have seen the importance of communication in business will have the same importance even in the business letters. So all these are general things. So I will just skip. Um, yeah, let us see the parts of a business letter. So, the very first, when you are writing the business letter, what are the various elements or the structure or the layout of a business letter? So, the first one is the letterhead. This letterhead, earlier when we used to write a letter, the business letter, we used to write from. That means whoever is writing a letter from. But now we don't do that because we have a letterhead, and on the letterhead, it includes all the information of the sender. So, the sender's address, his company's name, his logo, his symbol, the address, the zip, the website, the LinkedIn profile, if they have an Insta account, the Insta account. So all that information, or the website address, the email address, all that kind of information is given in the phone number. So everything is given in the letterhead. And then This is a letterhead. All this information is printed usually on the center. It can be on the left and right, but most of it is given in, yeah, it can be, usually it is given on the right hand side or in the center. Then second part is the reference. Reference is some people, usually in the organization, there will be a reference number given, so that tomorrow if you have to quote this letter which you have written, it becomes easier, to say that this is a letter which is with reference to the letter with the reference number so and so. Then it becomes easier to refer to that letter, which can be a continuation of this, and then otherwise, which has a supportive information in the letter with reference to this number. Then date. Of course, we need to mention the date in the letter. Uh, so it should have a date, the name of the month, and the year. And the date usually is written 2 to 3 lines under the letterhead. And there are two ways of writing the dates. You can write like this, or you can write like this. One should avoid writing the dates in this format. This is not supposed to be a formal format of writing the dates, even though we still find people writing like this. But then it also happens, if you move from one country to the other country, the format of the dates also changes, not necessarily that you should write only this, or this, but the format changes from country to country. Then the inside address. The inside address is the address of the party to whom you are sending the letter to. So again, this includes the name and the address of the firm or the individual to whom the letter is written. So you might write Mr. or Mrs. or this kind of addressing can be done. Or it can be, if it is a company, you can say Messrs. Or if it is the designation, you can write the designation as well. After the to address, then it comes the subject and the receivers. This is the subject. So then you mention the subject. Subject will give the summary of what is written in the letter. The subject should not be too lengthy. You should use usually, one sentence in the subject, and it should use as less uh, text as possible. Sorry, as words as possible. Of course, doesn't mean it should have only 2 3 words. It can have at least 5 6 words, so that the other person is able to understand. Then salutation. Salutation is when you are, greeting the person to whom you are writing the letter. So it's like a compliment or a greeting, like we say, respected sir, respected madam, dear sir, dear madam, dear manager, or if you know the name of the person, dear John, Mr. John. So you need to give the salutation. You are actually greeting the person to whom you are writing the letter. Then comes the body of the letter. So again, the body of the letter is the actual part of the letter, which has three parts again: introductory paragraph, middle paragraph, and closing paragraph. So in the introductory paragraph, you will introduce yourself, and then you will tell about the actual reason for the letter will come in the middle paragraph. The middle paragraph can, this is not a middle paragraph, actually this is the body of the letter. The body of the letter can have multiple paragraphs depending upon the information that you want to deliver. Okay, and those have to be arranged properly under different paragraphs. And then finally, you close the paragraph, so that the closing should be done in such a way where you are in a way you are trying to you are trying to persuade the reader, and you are making them to enter into an action, and it should be like achieving your goal. So this once the body of the letter is, you are done with the body of the letter, then it comes a complimentary close, wherein you say, yours sincerely, yours faithfully, warm regards, best wishes, and then followed by the signature and the designation. So once you say your mom, yours sincerely or best regards, below that comes the signature and designation, where you write you sign, and below that you write your name, and then you write, if you have any business title, you write the business title below that, and with that, the letter comes to a close. But sometimes you have some enclosures also to be added. That means, the letter is done, but then you are enclosing certain documents along with the letter. So what all documents are enclosed with the letters, those are called as enclosures, and those enclosures should be mentioned at the end of the letter. So once the letter is completed, below that you write enclosures, and then you write, what all are included. Suppose there are multiple enclosures, so you write enclosure, and then you write one, whatever is, suppose, Xerox copy of, the sales report. Two, then you write, the original letter by the manager. So whatever it is, you have to enclose the documents or supporting documents. All those needs to be arranged in a sequence, and the same numbering has to be given in the enclosures as well. If you have nothing to enclose, doesn't mean that you should always enclose something in the letter. If you have nothing to enclose, you can just skip writing this enclosures because you have nothing to enclose. Then you have reference initials. Sometimes, somebody else has typed the letter for you. In that case, it is your initials is required in the uppercase followed by the other initials in the lowercase. It is only if somebody else is typing on your behalf. Then you have the copy notation. Copy notation is, if you remember, we write CC. This CC is the copy of circulation. That means, when you are writing a letter, and the same letter has to be circulated to, the branch head as well. So you write there CC to the branch head and whatever the name is. So that means that, the same letter has, the copy of the same letter has also been, notified or been sent to so and so person. And at the end, you have postscript. Postscript is, which comes, suppose, you have written a letter and you forgot to mention something important in the letter. So then you will mention in the postscript. So nowadays the postscript is not required because, we are typing the letter in the, uh, you know, uh, and wherever any changes, if you forget, you can immediately go to that page and you can immediately, enter that information there. Unlike, if you have to type in a typewriter and at the end of the letter you remember, oh, you forgot something, so at the end you used to write PS. But now that is not a problem because it is easier to edit a letter and modify a letter and bring any changes in the letter. Okay, so those are the structure of the letter, elements of the letter, or the part of the letter. Then you don't have the, the styles of the letter in you, but then you have types of letter. Okay, so you have various types of letters, business letters. Um, a few of them can be discussed. For example, refusal letter. Okay, refusal letter is a letter wherein you get an invite, but you are refusing for that invite. So such kind of letters should be written very carefully. The, first of all, in the introductory part, you thank the sender that you have been invited, and you thank them, and then, in the, you introduce yourself and you thank them for the invitation. Then in the body of the letter, you try to refuse for the invitation. But when you are refusing, you should make sure that you are being very courteous while refusing them. So you have to feel sorry for refusing and try to give a reason for why you are refusing that information. So your information or your letter should be very polite, because you are refusing. It's a negative kind of letter where you are refusing. So you have to be very polite while you are refusing, while giving your explanation for the refusal. And then in the conclusion, you will wish them, that suppose if it is an, the annual celebration, so you are going to congratulate them, and then you are going to send your best wishes. Okay, so that is how a refusal letter, so is the, refusal letter is. Then you have acceptance letter. Acceptance letter is, somewhere where you are given invite and you accept that. For example, uh, you know um, you have applied for a job, and you have you have been accepted. You know, your interview was good, and you have been accepted in the company, and you are going to join in the company. So it can be that letter, or it can be, um, maybe, like. Similarly, there is a kind of invitation, and you accept that invitation. So same way, you thank them for inviting you, and then You tell them that in the body of the letter that you are very proud to be a part of this annual, or maybe if it is AGM, you are proud to be a part of this annual general meeting, and you will be definitely over there. And in the conclusion, again you end it. So in an acceptance letter, you are very happy, and you express that happiness, and you say that yes, you are going to be a part of that invitation. Okay, then there can be an appointment letter. Appointment letter can be when somebody is appointed to a particular position, and you know there also, you again in the first paragraph, you are trying to thank them for appointing them, and being a part of that organization. And then in the second one, you say that you will do this duty, that duty, and you will always um, make them feel proud, and you will perform all your duties, and then you conclude. Okay, then you have an order letter. An order letter is one, where you try to place an order. So when you are placing an order, you have to be careful that you include all the information while placing an order. So how many what is the description of the item that you need, how many quantity you need, what is the price of each quantity, and by what time it has to reach, by what time you are expecting. So all this complete information on the order has to be included in the order letter. Then enquiry letter. Enquiry letter is one where if a company has to make an inquiry, if they have a requirement of some products, so they approach the seller and they send an inquiry. That you have a requirement of so and so item, and the description of so and so item, and the number of items required. So if a company has a requirement of certain items or products, so they send a letter of inquiry to that company who is actually the seller of those products. Then collection. The collection letter is usually written when there is any outstanding or dues or any outstanding payments. So because you are asking your clients or your customers to complete the payment, and make the payment complete, or make the payment which is due. So you have to be very careful while writing such letters, because you are supposed to get the money back from them, the payment to be done. Reaching such kind of debtors is very you should be very careful while writing the letters to the debtors, because you have to get the money back from them. At the same time, they should not get offended, because they should not get angry on you, because you are supposed to retain your existing customers as well, right? So the letter should be written in such a way that you are able to you know uh, make them understand that you are in need of the amount, and they are supposed to make the payment, because the date is already expired, and they are supposed to make the payment as soon as possible. At the same time, you are not supposed to offend them and make them angry. Then you have application letter. Application letter is one where you file an application. For instance, you have to apply for a job in the organization. So you send a letter of application along with a covering letter. So you put a covering letter, and along with that you send the. So actually, application itself is like a covering letter, wherein you write a letter about yourself, what your details are, in a brief description of your resume, and then you say that in what way you're going to be helpful for the organization, how is the organization being benefited by you if they take you, and then you enclose a curriculum detail along with this application or the uh, covering letter. Sometimes an application will be like form wherein that also includes your curriculum vitae, which also uh, includes the blanks and the spaces wherein you have to provide your details of your entire experience, qualifications, your skills, your extra capabilities. All those informations can be mentioned in the direct application, which is like a form. Then you have sales promotion. Sales promotion is a letter, wherein you try to promote your products. So sales promotion should be, a very this should be written very tactfully, wherein it should be a persuasive kind of letter, wherein you try to write the details about the products, about the company in such a way that the customers they feel attracted. So sales letter should be written very very creatively. The topic should be written in such a way that The customers get you know attracted, and they develop a desire to go through the letter. Something, okay, you can save your electricity up to 30%, save your electricity bill up to 30%. So the customers will get attracted, and they will have a desire to go through it. What is that they have which can save my electricity up to 30%? So then I will start going through the letter. And then the letter should be written in such a way that each paragraph about the product should talk about the performance of the product, in what way it is really going to save the electricity bill by 30%. And then the ending or the conclusion should be written in such a way which, wherein you are trying to generate an action from the customers who are reading this letter. Like, you have an offer of 1 plus 1 if you place an order, or there is an early bird discount, or place an order of 1 plus 1 if you place an order before so and so date. And likewise, something that will motivate them, or make them into an action to place an order. So these are the types of the business letters. Then you have okay, so business letters is also over. Then we will see the long business correspondence, which is the report writing. So do you want a 5 minutes break? Because again, we will have almost an hour class. Shall we take a break of 5 minutes, or 5 or 10 minutes?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so we will have a break for 10 minutes. Now it is 12:05. We will be back by 12. Uh, so when shall we be back? By 12:15 or by 12:10?
12:10 is fine, ma'am.
12:10. Okay, so let us take a break of 5 minutes, and we all will be back in 5 minutes by 12:10. So, are you all back?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, let's continue with the class. Yes. Can you see the screen? Yeah. Can you see the screen? Okay. So let's start with the report writing. So report writing usually is a long form of business correspondence, but then in report writing also you have a short also. You might have a letter format also. So let us see how it goes. Um, a report is a presentation of facts and findings, usually as a basis of recommendations written for a specific readership and probably intended to be kept as a record. So a report is a presentation, it's a written presentation. It's a written presentation of the facts and the findings, and it is usually written on the basis of it is usually written to give some recommendations, and on the basis of which some decision making can be done. So when there is a requirement of some facts and some information, so a study is done on that to get a detailed information on that particular topic, and somebody else does the detailed study, prepare a report, and then submit to those who require that information, and based upon that information, some decision making or some problem solving will be done. For instance, there was a big accident, in a factory. So, a report has to be written to find out, a report has to be prepared to find out, what has actually happened there, what were the reasons for such kind of accident or such kind of explosion in the factory, what all has happened there, what factors led to the explosion, and what steps can be taken, so that if they find out what was the reason for such explosion and what factors led to such kind of accidents, then based upon that they will take an action. What will be the action? To punish those who did wrong and to take the preventive measures so that such kind of such kind of disaster does not happen again, so that they can uh, make sure that such kind of accidents do not happen again. So the one who needs this information is the management, but they will not do the study. They will give the the responsibility and the authority to a person or a group of people or a committee, and those people will be responsible to find the facts, to do a study, ask queries from different people who are involved and who were there thereby, and based upon that, they present a report, and they also give a recommendation that what should have happened to avoid this. Okay, so that is called as a report. So basically, a report is a presentation of the facts and findings, usually as a basis for recommendation. That means these facts and findings, what they give, this will become a basis for the recommendations. So some reports they also provide the recommendations. Some reports they only give facts and findings, so that the recommendations or suggestions can be given based upon the facts and findings presented in the report. And sometimes these reports are used to make certain decisions. Reports can also be used for controlling or for measuring the performances of the employees, right? For example, your performance report is submitted. For instance, the sales executives, they are supposed to submit their performance reports, and on the basis of that their performance appraisal is done, and on that basis, their salary hike or the incentives are given. So there are various ways for which a report can be used. So it is purely based on the observation and the analysis. It gives an explanation of any circumstances, and it is to discuss a particular problem in detail. So there are different ways, as I was telling you, the report can be used. Um, so there are different types of report. Reports can be formal or informal. So formal reports are one, which follows a particular structure and a format. So there is a format for preparing a report, and it includes so many elements or the parts in the structure of a report. So if it follows, a particular format, then it is called as a formal report. And if it is an informal report, where the report does not follow a particular structure, and it is just, as a gist, if it is submitted, then it is called an informal report. Usually an informal report is prepared for daily or the routine activities, which are very small kind of reports and simple reports, and does not have to follow a particular structure. Then you have a statutory report and a non-statutory report. Statutory report is prepared on the basis of the legal requirement. So, for example, as I told you, if there is any, public sector or government organization, and some problem has appeared, so the report has to be prepared. Then it is on the basis of legality. There is some action to be taken, and the court has ordered for a legal, uh, investigation. Then that kind of report is called as a statutory report. Non-statutory report is not on the basis of the legal requirement. It is required for whatever the reason it can be. It can be any reason, but there is no legality imposed on preparing a report. But for the statutory report, the legality is imposed. So based upon the legal requirement, the report has to be prepared. Then you have the individual committee. Okay. Then you have the individual report and the committee report. Individual report is a report that is to be prepared by a single person. So this kind of report usually is a small report or an informal report. It can be a small report, short report, or an informal report. So this does not require the involvement of more people. Um, for example, uh, preparing a daily report. Okay, so all the individuals are asked to prepare a daily report and submit to the manager. So that can be an individual report. Then you have the committee report. Committee report is a report wherein a committee is formed, and when we say a committee is formed, it can include two or more people. So when two or more people are involved, it becomes a committee. And when this committee is given a task to prepare and submit a report, then that kind of report is called as a committee report. So usually a committee is formed when there is a particular issue which requires information, facts uh, from different fields, and you need an expertise from different fields. You need the detailed and intensive knowledge on that particular issue. Then the committee is formed. Okay, for instance, um, if the company is planning to open, or they want to diversify into a new product category. So before they do it, they have to do a lot of study. They have to find whether the market is the market is good enough to accept their new product, and is there anything else that the customer require, or how many competitors are there in the market? Will the customers have a positive approach for this new product? So they want to diversify into a completely new line. So before they do that, they have to do a study. So they might appoint a committee, and they might ask them to do a study, prepare a report, and then submit that report, so that um, the decision can be taken based upon that. Now here they need to have the people from the expertise from different fields. You need to have the strategic planners who can study the the strategic aspect well, how the other competitors are performing in that market, and they need to have the expertise from the research and research side or the research and development side, who can understand the customer's requirement, and so that that requirement can be converted into the concept and hence into a final product. So you need the people from different you need the expertise from different backgrounds. So in that case, a committee is formed, and they are supposed to do a study and submit a report. So this is just an example. They can be the committee for different tasks as well. So then you have a short and long report. So short report is one, when the report is not a lengthy report, it is a short report. So usually the short reports are prepared, for example, the departmental performance, or which includes few paragraphs but not many. Short reports can be submitted even as a letter report. See, the report can be submitted as a report, formal report, which has all the elements of a report that you will see ahead, or it can be submitted as a letter, wherein you write how you write a letter. You write the report instead of the body. You will submit whatever your findings and your study and your recommendations are there. You will submit that in the. You will include that in the body of the letter. So that comes under the short report. Long report is one which is a formal report, and which includes all the elements of a formal report, and it consists of, because it's a lengthy report, it consists of many pages, and this is more time taking when compared to the preparing a short report. Then routine and the special report. Routine reports are those that are prepared and submitted on routine tasks. For example, scheduling, uh, daily performance reports. Those will come under routine reports. So usually routine reports are submitted either daily or weekly. So, and they are usually the short reports. Then you and usually they are the individuals who are submitting the report. Then special reports are those which are prepared for a specific purpose. Routine reports are those which are prepared on the recurring issues, you know like every week, like the weekly schedules, or like the, as I said, your performance reports. But when it comes to special reports, they are the one who are prepared for a specific purpose. For instance, there is special meeting because they suddenly find a um, new technology has you know they want to get a new technology into the organization, and they feel that this technology will increase productivity, but they might have to lay off certain people, or they might have to transfer some people to some other department, because with this new technology the number of workers required will be less. So now they want to do a study on that, in what way this will be really useful or not. So it's a special task, right? Because they are going to get that technology uh, to the factory or to the organization. So they want to see whether this is going to be useful or not. Or maybe they want uh, you know they want to decide whether they want to manufacture a particular product, or whether they want to buy a product and then resell it. So to buy or to manufacture, they want to take a decision on that, on a particular product. So for that also they want to do a study and get a report. So those are also coming under special reports. So special reports are those which is for a special purpose, which is non-recurring, and which does not happen frequently. So for those issues, when the report has to be prepared, those are called as the special reports. Then you have informative, interpretative, and recommendation reports. So informative reports are those which are prepared just to provide the information to the reader. So they will not give you, any recommendations, and the any sort of inference. You are only providing the information through that report. Okay, so that means, for instance, find out how many, prepare a report on the attrition level in the organization. Attrition means how many people are leaving the organization during a particular time period. So how many people are leaving from different departments. So from each department, for a particular year, the financial year, what is the attrition rate? So you are only giving, the level of attrition from each department. You are only providing the information. Okay. Next one is interpretative or the analytical. So in interpretative or analytical report, you try to analyze the facts. Okay. For instance, attrition. So here you try to analyze and interpret what are the factors behind the attrition, what are the reasons, probable reasons, why are the employees leaving the organization and going out to the other organization. Is it the culture not good? The work culture is not good. Is it the salary? Is it the incentive problem? Or is it the role description is not given properly? So, or is it the superior subordination problem? So, what are the factors which are leading to the attrition level or high attrition level? So, you are trying to find the facts and you are trying to find the factors and you do an analysis on those factors and then you try to interpret that okay, this must be the reason. So, it is not that the salary or the incentives, but it is the the role the job description which is not defined properly, which is confusing the people and not making them happy. So that is leading to the job dissatisfaction and that is the reason they are going to the other organization. So that is the reason there is an increasing level of attrition. So they are trying to interpret from the facts that they have found. Then is the recommendation. So recommendation report are those which provide the recommendation. So, what steps can be taken to improve the problem that is existing? For instance, the same problem, the attrition is increasing. The attrition rate is high in this particular year. So, what is the reason? With the help of this analytical report, you try to give a recommendation. So, in the recommendation report, you don't provide interpretation, analysis, and information. You only provide the recommendation. So, here you will give the recommendation on how you can reduce the attrition level. So, what you give the recommendation that you have to have a transparency in communication with the employees. You have to define the job roles properly. You have to make sure that there is good relation and communication between superior and subordinate, so that if there is any confusion, the subordinates can easily have a discussion and easily have a talk, and they can interact with the superiors and to avoid any such sort of communication. So all these kind of recommendations can be given. So in recommendation report, it only involves the recommendations that are given to improve the functioning or the working or to improve that or to overcome some particular issue or the problem. Then the reports can be marketing reports or accounting reports or production reports. That is, on the basis of the subject. So marketing reports will give the reports on the marketing issues. For example, what is the acceptance level of a particular product in one particular sales territory, and what is the customer's response for a particular product in a particular sales territory, or what is the promotion, how is the promotion doing in one particular area. So anything related to the marketing aspects, any report that talks about the marketing aspects will come under marketing reports. Any report that talks about the accounting aspects will come under accounting reports. Anything that comes under production, like how is the production level, how where is when are you going to reach the break even point, what is the quality of the product output. So all that information that talks about the production will come under production report. So these are subject related matter or the department based reports. So this is the structure or the layout of the elements of the report. So you have three main parts. introduction, body of the report, and addenda. Introduction includes all these elements. Body of the report includes all these elements, and addenda is any supportive document that comes here. So let us see one by one. So introduction includes title slide or title page. Title slide is when you when you submit a report, the report cover that has is called as a title slide. Title slide includes the title of the report. It includes who is submitting, that means who is the person who has prepared the report, to whom the report is being submitted. You know, whatever I am telling you about this report, uh, it is the same thing that you are going to submit your project report. See, you all are doing MBA, right? You are supposed to submit a project report at the end of your MBA course, and your project report will also include all these elements. So when you submit your report, you submit the copy, and on top of on the cover of your report, the it will include your name, the person who is submitting the report, to whom you are submitting, the title of the report. Okay, then it will include the date of submission. It will include um, if it is a confidential report, it has to include confidential report. So all these information will be given in the title slide. Title page is same as title slide. Only thing is it will come inside the report. So when you open the report, the first page that comes on the right side of your report, that is the title page, which is the same as that of the title slide. Then a title page and title slide might also include some reference number in case some reference number or some like you will be including your hall ticket number. Likewise, there might be some reference number also which might be included when it comes to the organization. Then you have an authorization letter. Authorization letter is one where the management is giving an authorization to the employees or to those people who are given the responsibility of conducting a survey and submitting a report. So the one who is preparing a report has to be given an authorization letter by the one who is giving an authority to this person to prepare a report. Then table of contents. So this will include all the topics or the chapters, including the page numbers, so that it is easier to directly jump into a particular chapter if you want to see again and again. Some people, who want to see only the recommendation part, they will check the recommendation in the content and will directly go to that page and study the recommendation. Some people who want to have only the information, they might choose that information and they might do. Some people, who want to know what were the factors involved and what is the actual study, the interpretation they have done, they might enter into that. So there are so many topics that will, like, for example, I was telling you about the attrition level. If some people wants to know only the factors that were involved in or the cause of attrition, increasing the attrition level, they will only check for those factors in which page they are, and they will only read those. So depending upon the interest of the people who are using this information, they will go through that particular link, or the particular chapter, or maybe they might go through the entire report, but they want to again refer to some particular topic, then they might go for that lesson, the chapter, and they might look into for that particular topic. Then table of illustrations. Table of illustrations will give you the letter of sorry, the table, the index of the list of the illustrations, like the tables, the charts, the graphs, the pictures, whatever is coming there. They might give a list of all those illustrations. So that means the numbers are given. These illustrations are given the numbers, and the same numbers are given in the table along with the page numbers. Then abbreviations. Sometimes it is not possible to use uh, uh, um, for example, IGNO. It is not always possible to give the abbreviation of IGNO every time you are writing. So you write it once, and then you mention the abbreviations of that IGNO, and in the entire report you are only writing IGNO, IGNO, IGNO. So what happens there? You are saving the time there. At the same time, the reader should know what IGNO is. So at the beginning, in the introduction, they have to give the list of abbreviations used, so that when the reader is reading, he knows, okay, what this IGNO stands for. So all those abbreviations, the list should be given in the introduction. Then acknowledgement. Acknowledgement will include, acknowledging all those people who were involved in helping you to complete the report. Then executive summary or the abstract. This is the summary of the entire report, and this summary is given at the beginning, so that those the people who want to read the report but does not have enough time, they can go through this executive summary or the abstract of the report, and they can get the the summary of the entire report in less time. So the summary does not include the tables or graphs or any illustrations. It will only include the theory part. So it will include, what is the objective of your study. It includes what are the um, methods, of course, you have used to study. It includes the body of the report. It includes any interpretations. It includes any recommendations that you have given. So it includes all these important aspects, and these are summarized, so that those people who does not have enough time to read the entire report, they can go through the summary and make use of information given in that report to make the decisions. Then defining the problem. So what is the problem for which you are making a report, right? So what is the attrition is increasing year by year. So that is your problem, and you want to find out what is the reason behind it, and interpret it, reason behind it, so that you can reduce the attrition. Or the accident that has taken place, some explosion had taken place, what was the factors involved, you want to know, so that you can punish those people, and at the same time you can be ready with the preventive measures the next time. You try to avoid, you take the preventive measures, so that the explosion does not happen the next time. Then, based upon the problem, you will define your objectives. Okay, so problem is increasing level of attrition. So what will be your objectives? To understand the perception of the employees on attrition, to understand the factors involved in the attrition, to understand the perception of these employees on these factors. Okay, um, so each one of these factors you are going to do the study, and based upon that you prepare an objective. So based upon your problem, you are going to set your objectives. Okay, that objectives are also given in the first unit. Methodology. That means you are going to design your research. How are you going to go ahead with your research? What is your design? What is the research plan? How are you going to, collect your data? Which sources are you going to use to collect your data? Then how are you going to analyze that data that you have gathered? Which statistical test you are going to use to do an interpretation, to analyze and interpret the data, and all those information, all those methodologies has to be defined in methodology, or has to be stated in methodology. So all these includes the introduction part. Then you have the body of the report, which is the actual part of the report, which will actually provide the information that people want. So this includes the literature review. Literature review is, again, this varies. Some people will include literature review in the introduction as well. Literature review will include, the detailed study which is done by others on the same problem. So attrition level is increasing. So I will try to do a study from different organizations, that where in other places also they are facing the attrition level, and what are the factors there, and how are they dealing. Or even in our organization, this problem has occurred 10 years before. So what was the problem, what was the factors, and how it was dealt. So I'm trying to get the information from the past study, which can provide me some information and the basis for the study, and the basis for my report writing. So materials and methods. So what materials and methods are you going to we have used? Okay. So this includes, whatever study I have done, what different kind of information I have gathered, what is my, the conceptual study based upon like different literature reviews. How do I understand? So I try to form a conceptual framework. Okay, these are the factors which might have involved and led into this attrition level. And uh, these are the factors which are which how can these factors be dealt to reduce the attrition level. So I'm trying to understand this in detail. Okay, and based upon that review that I have done, I'm going to now form a framework on which I will do the detailed study. Then this includes, all your uh, uh, all the information that you have gathered. These materials and methods will include all the details and information that you have gathered. So whatever information you have gathered from, because now the study is for your organization. So in your organization, what is the you ask, you go to different departments, and in each department, what is the problem? In IT departments, you basically, maybe the employees have reported that they are not having the upgraded technology, and they are not being trained, to use that technology. They go to the other department, maybe they go to the HR department. They say that they're not having good hike in the salary, and their reasons are different. Then they go to the other department, the production department. They ask them, what is the reasons for the attrition. So maybe that they say that uh, uh, you know they are not having updated machineries, and they're not having good work culture. The working conditions are not good, or the salary is not good enough for the risk they are taking to work in the machineries. So each department is surveyed, and they try to get the information. So all that information will come under here, and all those informations will be tabulated. Now they will perform the statistical test on the information that they have gathered, and they will try to find the results. So they will do an analysis, and they will find the result, and they will try to interpret from the test that they have done. So then, what will be the results? That in IT department is basically no upgradation of the technology. In production department, main reason is there is the risk involved, and they don't have that much of salary. They are not being paid as depend. They are not being paid at par with the risk that they are taking to work in that organization. So each department is having their own reason. That is the result they have found. And then they will do a discussion. In discussions, they will involve the interpretation. They will write that in detail. For instance, IT is saying that no updation of technology. So they will say that employees are saying that there is no updation of technology. So they are not learning to work on a new technology. And even if there is some technology, they are not sent for the training to improve their knowledge. So they are writing, and they are giving the discussions regarding each point over there. Then finally they give the conclusion. Conclusion is almost the summary of the discussions. Okay, and then based upon that discussions and conclusions, they will give a recommendations to update the technology, to send the employees for training, train the employees to update, and to link the salary with the risk they are taking, or with the performances they are giving. So that is the recommendation they will try to give. And then, so this with this your actual report writing is over. But then you have addenda. Addenda means the supportive documents that they are at the end. So for all these work that you have done, there must be some supporting material. So that comes under addenda. References are those things which are referred in your report. So from where you have referred, from which book or journal you have referred, that will be mentioned in the references in the list. There will be a list of books or journals, that or newspapers, or any organizational bulletins, and whatever you have referred, all those things will be given in the references in the list. Citations are those which are you know something like references, but they are directly shown in the text of the body of the report. They are mentioned in the body of the report. And then you have the glossary. Glossary is at the end you will have some terms which are used in your report, and the meaning of those terms. So suppose you come through come through a term in your report, and you are not aware of it. Suppose if they are using some index or some particular methodology to study the attrition, and you are not aware of what is that. So you go to glossary, where the words or terms are arranged in the alphabetical order. You look for that term and find the meaning of that term. Okay. In index, all the terms that are all the topics that are mentioned here, the important topics that are mentioned in the index in alphabetical order. So suppose I want to find only the the suppose I want to find a particular topic or particular terminology. Okay, so then I will go to the index and look for the term and the page number where the term is mentioned, and I will go to that page number here, and the term or the topic and the details of the topic I will read. Okay, so understood the difference here. In glossary, it's only like a dictionary, a word meaning. So when you are reading the report, if you are not able to understand a particular meaning or a term, you go to glossary and understand the meaning. In index, if you want to study a particular topic in your report, so you go to the index, which is again arranged in the alphabetical order, and look for the term. Okay, and for that term you look and you see what is the page number mentioned, and then you go to that page number and then you study only that topic. So what happens is you are saving your time. You know where that particular topic is available because of the index. Then you have bibliography. In bibliography, you again list out all the books, journals, the newspapers, the websites, the bulletins, that all you have referred for writing a project report. And this also includes certain references which you might not have directly used in the body, but it must have given you some information and some knowledge and might be helpful in preparing the report. So that is the difference between the references and the bibliography. And finally, you have appendix. Appendix will include the supportive documents, like some you have like some empty form you want to show. For example, how you also have to include the performance of the performance appraisal. Because all these might also link somewhere, will get linked with the performance appraisal of the employee. So you have to write the appendix. You have to, if you want to give the appendix of performance appraisal form, that you might add up here. If you have done a small survey of questions, you have a questionnaire for which you have taken the answers from your um, answers from certain employees. That questionnaire can be kept over here. Some pictures, some diagrams also can be kept over here. So all that information supportive document can be attached in the appendix. So this is how a report has to be prepared. And when you write your MBA report, you have to include all these things even in your MBA report as well. Maybe some of the topics, some of the things you might let it go because your MBA report might not be so lengthy like how this goes on. But almost the same thing you will have to use to prepare your MBA report as well. Then you don't have all these things. Then you have technology. Yeah, I think you have also technology in your. Yeah, so let us also complete the last topic, which is technology. See, we know that the communication, has come to a certain level and certain point because of the technology that we are using. As for a simple example, when we had to make a international call, we were supposed to book a trunk call. During our grandparents' time, if they had to communicate with their loved ones or with the relatives, someone who is in the other country, they were supposed to. Someone's mic is on. Yeah. So, they have to book a trunk call, and it used to take time to book a trunk call. It's not like I book it book now and I get it in a few minutes. So it used to take 1 day or 2 day to get the call, and then you used to get a call, and you used to talk with your people, who are in the other countries, and even the line was not so clear when they used to talk. They used to talk very loudly. You must have seen in the black and white movies, when they are making a trunk call and they're talking so loudly. And later on, we had this ISTD facilities, where ISD facilities or STD facilities, from one state to another state also. the rates were charged very high, and if it is from one country to other country, the rates were very high when you're talking in daytime, and nighttime it used to be little less. So the things were not the same like how it is. But today, if we have to make a call to somebody who is sitting in the other country, we don't have to go to a telephone booth, and have to make an ISD or an STD call. Now it has become so easy. Like, we have so many apps and so many the applications available. You can directly make a call if you have an internet, if you have a Wi-Fi connection or internet connection at home, and of course the other person at the other end should also have, which everyone is having now. So, the entire world is now, you know inside the Wi-Fi, inside the within the Wi-Fi reach, and everyone is able to communicate with every other person, be it in any part of the world. The communication has become so easy. You can, have a video call. You can have a video call and you can talk to your loved ones either through Viber or through WhatsApp call, through Skype. Even, the interviews have become so easy. You do not have to now literally go to the other place to face the interview. You can have the interview on in Skype. So things have become very easy with the upgradation of the technology. So there are different level, there are different technologies that are used even in the business communication. So we say that, the world has become like a global village. Like, in a village we say that, every person can easily talk to every other person because the people are very less in a village, and everyone knows everyone. The same thing has happened even globally. The globe itself has become like a village, and all thanks to the technology in communication. The IT revolution has, changed the entire picture, and the the universe has in fact become like a small global village where everyone is easily able to communicate with any other person in any part of the world. So there are different technologies that we are using in the communication, in the business communication, and these technologies make the communication very, very effective, and it saves lot of time and money. This has become very efficient as well. It has made the communication very cheap, very quick, and very effective. So we will see a few of them. So emails, we have seen just now that how email helps us to communicate multiple people at a time. So it facilitates fast, convenient flow of information among users at various locations and time zones. So irrespective of, whether it is a day or a night there, if I want to send a mail, I can send the mail to the people even if it is night over there. The time zone is different, right? They can see whenever they want to see. It increases, of course, the efficiency, it reduces the cost, and it reduces the paper waste. You do not have to, keep on, sending. Again, though we say it reduces the paper waste, but certain the letters, that we cannot avoid, and that also the physical copy has to be sent. But then, some information does not require the physical evidence. For example, if some information has to be given, and there is you know that does not require, to have a physical copy of that, the same information can be sent to multiple recipients at the same time, and there is no paper waste also. So it also leads to green, it also leads to the, the green, the green planet. It helps in having a green planet. So this Gmail has, of course, now everyone is having Gmail. It is not just Gmail. You have so many, different, uh, different servers are there which can help you to send the exchange the mails, and this has made our life very, very easy. So in an email, you have the subject, then you have a box below where you can type your message, then you have, the formatting of the message, then you have attaching the files which can be the text files, which can be any sort of files, which can be doc file, PDF files, or even the PPTs. The videos can be attached, and you can have multiple number of attachments, and all these things have made the life very easy. So one has to take care that, when you are writing a mail, it should look very professional. So you have to make sure that, you are um, when you are composing your message, it should be, you have to make use of the seven C's, or the principles of effective communication, where the information has to be concise, it has to be concrete, it has to be correct information, and you have to include on information. You have to be courteous while putting your message on paper. So try to avoid lengthy messages, because if the messages are too lengthy, the recipient might lose the interest and he might not go through the complete message. Because in email, what happens is the sender has sent the mails, but the recipients, it is up to them to read or not. We do not know whether they are reading or going through your messages or not. And even if they are going through your messages, are they going through the complete message or not? So to avoid that, make sure that your messages are concise, they are brief, and they are to the point, and do not repeat your messages. And avoid the humor or any sort of informality, using informal uh, tone of the message in the emails. Then you have the voicemail communication. Voicemail communication is one, where you it's a where there's a centralized system of stored telephone messages that can be retrieved later. So here, there is an answering machine. So if the person is not available, you leave your message, and this message can be retrieved by that person later. So that if there is any emergency or any important message, you are leaving that message to this person, and this person also has to check the messages, so that he is not he's not avoiding any important information. So the voicemail options also comes under the answering machines, the voicemails, all these things comes under the voicemail messages. Then you have the cell phone communication. So the life has the life is made so simple, so comfortable, so sophisticated because of these mobile phones. You know, the person does not have to sit in the office premises to receive the calls. Earlier, like it was like if the employee has to communicate, he has to be in the office, because there is the landline, the telephones which are connected to the point, and he has to use that. He has to go to that point, and he has to take the receiver, and he has to talk on the phone there at that point only. Whether he has to deliver a message or whether he has to receive the message, he has to be at that particular point. But now the person does not have to be in the office premises to deliver the message or to receive the message. He is always available 24 hours because of the mobile phones. Even if the person is traveling, even if the person is not in the office, even if the person is in some other country, it is easy to be in contact with that person. So here the communication is 24/7. And this has made, of course, the life very, very effective and efficient. Then you have teleconference. Teleconference allows the live exchange and mass articulation of information among several persons and machines remote from one another but connected to telecommunication system. So this can be done without the aid of communication. So in teleconference, what happens is that there are few people who are involved. Okay, so like we are doing here, like we are doing this Google Meet. This is also an example of teleconference. So many of us are involved here. We can see each other. We can talk to each other. We can have a discussion, and we can have, it's like a conference. We can have a conference, like you have Skype, you have you know Yahoo Messenger, you have this Google Meet. So you can have a discussion. You can have a continuous sharing or exchange of the written messages, at the same time having an interaction with each other, having oral communication with each other. So everything is possible in the telecommunication. So this saves a lot of time, because a person does not have to go, suppose five people are involved and they are all in different places. Now, as for instance, if this class had to take place, in a particular place, then we have to make an arrangement for the classroom. Then, all of you had to make an arrangement to come to that classroom. You had to, take time to come and reach over there, drive there to come and reach over there, and again go back home. So that would have taken a lot of time and effort, and mental stress. And all these are overcome through this kind of teleconferences. And this also makes the conference economic, because if you have to come to a particular point, you were supposed to travel, your petrol charges, your time, all these things would have been at an expense, but now all those things are waived off. Video conference is a higher version of this, right? Where you can have a meet. Usually, when there is a, you must have seen this, in the news. When you are connecting 4 5 people over the video conference, and there is a discussion going on, and there is a panel. When you in the news, any panels you must have seen. So many discussions takes place. That is an example of video conferences. Or when there are there has to be a meeting among many people. They do not have to go travel to different countries for those meetings, and they can have the video conference. This can save a lot of time and money again, and this helps the speed up the decision making, because you do not have to go, and at the same time you can have a discussion as if you are sitting next to each other and you are having a discussion. Then you have instant messaging, right? What we do in our WhatsApp chat, or there are so many different types of instant messaging apps available, right? So this instant messaging, what happens is, though we do instant messaging, but this is not a formal kind of messaging. Only thing is, if you want to inform the other person, we are informing them, but at the same time, but then you have to again follow a formal procedure to inform the recipient. Only thing is, depending upon your personal contacts and personal touch, you are able to informally inform the recipients on the messages or the information, but it has to be followed by the formal way of communication. Then World Wide Web, right? World Wide Web is the storehouse of everything, and it can be, you can have an internet or extranet. Intranet is within the organization also, when you have so many departments or so many computers connected to each other, you can have the common database for all the computers who are connected with each other, so it is easier to retrieve any information, and get access to whatever information you want. So there is a database, and everyone can get access to that database through intranet. So within an organization also, intranet helps. Otherwise, you have to move from one department to other department to get the information, one office to other office, or one branch to other office to get the information. But here, with this intranet, you have a common database, and everyone can get access to that database, and work is very smooth and sophisticated and effective and efficient. It becomes very efficient. Then extranet, where there are websites and weblogs, and where people sitting in all the corners of the world, they get connected through these websites. So every organization is having their own websites, and this website is accessible to any person, uh, any corner of the world at any time. Then you have Microsoft Office. So in what way this Microsoft Office is helpful in the communication? So we know that the data can be maintained here. The You have the Word, where any kind of letter writing, or there are so many functions with this Word, or with the Excel. You can perform so many calculations, so many functions you can do. You can you know uh, 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 you can actually have a uh, you know, good information can be organized in Excel, and that can be arranged in the database, which can be accessible to all the employees through intranet. Fax, as I told you, no more it exists. So it is because of this internet that we have this emailing facilities, teleconferencing, video conferencing, or instant messaging. All these things are possible. Then you have multimedia. Multimedia usually is a media and content that uses a combination of different content forms. So usually it uses both the audio and the video, and the best example of this is usually recorded and played, displayed, or accessed by information content processing devices such as computerized and electronic devices. So multimedia includes things like your YouTube, your Facebook, your Instagram. So all these are the part of multimedia, where the communication is very brief, and it attracts the takes the attention of the recipients or the target audience. People are very much attracted towards these kind of multimedia and sources of multimedia like this YouTube and all. And though they are attractive, but at the same time the attention span is very very less. So if you upload any video in YouTube, the the duration of the YouTube video should be not more than few minutes, because the attention span of the recipients and target audience has is reduced. Now they don't have patience because they have so much of information available in front of them. They keep switching from one information or one source to the other source. So they cannot stick to one source because of the availability of these many sources. So the span has reduced. That is the reason one has to be very careful with what you are uploading. You need to be very careful with the duration of the YouTube video if you want to really attract the attention of the recipients or target audience, and make sure that the content is very creative and it keep engrossed the audience into that video. Also, when it comes to Insta, or it comes to LinkedIn, or it comes to Twitter, or the X that we say, all if you see here, the content is very small. You will not have the lengthy contents here, because as I said, the patience and the time span of the target audience has come down. So that is the reason the information that we give should be very brief, to the point, and it should be very creatively dealt with. The information should be written in a very creative form, so that you are able to pull the attention of the target audience. And in that small information only, you should be able to provide all the information that the target audience is looking for. So these are the benefits of the technology. That means speed and time. We know that it is very quick and it is cost effective. It saves money, and it brings all the people together, because it is shortening the distance between the source and the recipients, and one get access to a lot of information. Because of this, we are able to give a lot of information to the target audience. It helps us to educate ourselves better, and it helps us to build a good community, and it, as I said, a global village. It is helping to make the reduce the size of the globe in terms of communication. It is available 24 by 7. It doesn't matter what time you want to get the information. You can you are accessible, and the information is accessible by you at any time. And it reduces the corruption, because everything is available online. If it is done online, then there is more transparency. But of course, there are loophole also available. Again, there is the corruption again possible through this, but then it is less when compared to the offline. And teamwork is easier, because you are able to get connected to people even though they are in different workplaces. But you are not you know away from the challenges or the problems. There are problems as well. You cannot completely rely on the technology. So suddenly there is no internet, so you're not able to, you're not able to communicate to anyone, and you are like isolated. And there is loss of face-to-face communication in case there is no video conference, and just the oral communication. But otherwise also, though we are seeing in video conference, though we see the face of each other, but it is not the same like what we can have when we are physically face to face with each other. Because when we are online, our facial expressions we try to manipulate, but when we are together and we spend more time together, we cannot manipulate our facial expressions for a longer time, and we are ourselves when we are physically face to face with each other. But because of technology, this is leading to isolation. People are, you know though they are connecting with so many people, but they are at the same time getting isolated. So they are not able to meet the people physically. They try to meet them only virtually, but they're not able to meet them physically, and they are not trying to have that face to face and that live communication. Then there are so many risks attached, or we say there are so many, we have seen that there are so many viruses, malware functions, all these problems that create, phishing is happening. So a lot of scam is also happening through this internet. So they send some sort of links, and if you click on that, like your entire system gone, and our entire system gets into the hands of others. You know, though we say that AI is so helpful and it is going to make the life easy, but at the same time, AI is able to is able to take a control over your life. So if we surrender ourselves to AI, then we have no control on our life. Our life will be controlled by AI in the future. So we do not know, how it is going to be in future. It might be, we might come to a point, where we also becomes like robots because we are controlled by robots with AI. So we also behave like robots without any feelings, without any emotions. It's just the work, and work. You know, so it might become, the world of robots. So these are, the problems associated with, the technology. Though technology is helping us to grow, but then it is up to us how we use the it is up to us how we use the technology. See, anything has two sides of a coin. Even the technology has two sides. It's like, you have a good side, you have a bad side. If you use it properly, constructively, we can really flourish and we can grow in the world. The technology can be used constructively. For example, in medicine, things have become so easy. Any sort of the the medical problems people have. It is so easy just with the laser technology. You are able to, instead of having a cut, you can just with the laser technology you are able to get yourself treated, able to get the treatment done. Though, of course, it is expensive, but then technology has made the life easy. We are able to go to space. We're able to see what is there in the other planets. So if we use it constructively, we develop. But if it is used destructively, right? For example, we are seeing phishing, virus, malwares, they are trying to use it destructively, right? Those people are so knowledgeable to create such viruses, but they are using that knowledge negatively, right? Or making this nuclear equipments. So all these are destructive. So it is up to us, how we use technology in communication, whether we use it to grow ourselves both personally and professionally, and let grow our organization and hence our nation, and hence the global development, contribute to global development, or we um, that is how one has to use the technology. So this is all about the communication. So we are done with the syllabus on and all. Maybe I must have missed some topics, and because the time slot given was only 6 hours, and 6 hours is actually too less to complete them. But then I have tried my best to cover what all possible. So I will leave. I have left my phone number in the first class. I have shared my phone number and mail ID with you. So in case if you need any further information or any further details, you can very well contact me. Okay. So I will be available. In case if I'm not able to take your calls, you can just leave a message. You can say that you are an IGNO student and this and this kind of help you need. I will, wherever if it is possible from my end, I will definitely try to help you. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, students, for joining this session, and I sincerely thank Dr. Ranjana for giving us time uh, to interact with our students. And as already she told, she will be available for the students for any queries further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, students.